evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lumpin Vishum. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Monday, the 19th of January. US warns Pakistan against terror attacks during President Obama's India visit. Bangladesh police arrest country coordinator of Islamic State in Dhaka. And Sri Lanka promises to improve ties with India under its new government. And now for all the details. The US has warned Pakistan of any terror attacks during President Barack Obama's India visit. This comes amid reports of the Islamic State stepping up recruiting youth in the tribal areas of Pakistan. A report.
The US has asked Pakistan to ensure all possible measures to avoid any cross-border terror incident during President Barack Obama's India trip. Washington reportedly has warned subtly of facing consequences if any sort of violence is traced back to Islamabad. The security agencies of both India and the US are taking precautionary measures ahead of President Obama's arrival later this week. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has invited him to attend the country's Republic Day parade on January 26th, the first by a US president. The warning to Pakistan comes because militant groups in Pakistan have in the past carried out attacks in India during high-profile visits from the US. The American forces in Afghanistan have also been asked to monitor the activities of terror groups in the region. The commander of NATO-led forces in Afghanistan, General John Campbell, said the militant outfit, the Islamic State, has stepped up recruiting fighters in both Afghanistan and Pakistan. Campbell had on Sunday confirmed that the extremist group has been distributing night letters openly inviting youths to join its ranks. According to reports, at least 50 militants from Pakistan's Khyber agency have also pledged allegiance to the IS over the weekend. Wall chalking, posters and pamphlets have been springing up across Pakistan supporting the jihadi group in the past few months, pressing on the growing presence of the IS across the region.
Bangladesh police on Monday claimed to have arrested 4 terrorists, including the country coordinator of the Islamic State. Police said the suspects were nabbed from the outskirts of capital Dhaka and a number of mobile phones and laptops were also recovered from them. According to reports, they were plotting some high-profile attacks in the country to gain media attention. This is the second major crackdown by the Bangladesh police on the Middle East-based militia. In September, a British national was arrested for recruiting people to fight alongside Islamic State militants in Syria. As the election battle in Delhi heats up, India's Congress party on Monday approached the Election Commission seeking action against Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal. The Grand Old Party is facing an uphill task in the provincial polls against the federal ruling Bharatiya Janata Party and the AAP.
The Congress party has turned its guns against the AAP, accusing the party of not fulfilling the promises it made during its 49-day government. It also filed a complaint against former Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal for his remark on voters taking bribe. Addressing an election rally on Sunday, Kejriwal had asked his supporters to take inducement from both Congress and BJP but still vote for AAP. The Congress also released a booklet on what the party called U-turns made by the AAP and Kejriwal. It said it has consolidated its position from the last provincial polls and the main fight will be between the Congress and the BJP.
The Aam Aadmi Party's total vote percentage has gone down by 15%. And Congress's vote percentage has gone up by more than 11%. It is a fight between the Congress and BJP, and we very strongly feel that this time around it is a fight with the BJP, and Aam Aadmi Party we don't think exists anywhere.
The Congress party, which was in power for 3 consecutive terms in the national capital, was decimated by political rookie the AAP in the December 2013 provincial polls. The party was then reduced to just 8 legislators in the 70-member House.
The United Nations should set limits towards freedom of expression to avoid insult of religions, Pakistani lawmaker Sajid Mir has said. This comes as protests continue across Pakistan against French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo for allegedly insulting Prophet Muhammad.
Thousands of people marched across major cities of Pakistan to mark their protest against the controversial cartoon by the French magazine. Hafiz Syed, the chief of pan-terror outfit Lashkar-e-Taiba, led hundreds of people in Lahore on Sunday against the blasphemous picture. Syed urged traders to boycott French products and called for passing of an international law against blasphemy. Similar demonstrations were organized in capital Islamabad too. In Karachi, lawyers boycotted court proceedings and marched against the publication of the cartoon. The protesters also demanded strict laws to ensure that religious feelings are not hurt.
इंटरनेशनल तरीके से कोई ऐसा लॉ पास किया जाए जिससे ये आइंदा इस किस्म के रसूल सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के गुस्ताखाना उसमें बेहरुमती ना करें और जिससे हम मुसलमान जो है उससे मजरू ना हो, ठीक है ना। जिस तरीके से हम किसी के मज़हब को ना छेड़ते ना बोलते हैं, तो इस तरीके से उनका भी ये राइट नहीं है कि वो हमारे एक पाक साफ मज़हब को इस तरीके से गलत उसको इंटरप्रिटेशन करें।
Protests have been continuing across Pakistan ever since Friday against the French magazine for what they called as an insult to Prophet Muhammad. The demonstration outside the French consulate in Karachi turned violent on Friday, injuring 3 people, including an AFP journalist.
Sri Lanka and India have pledged to deepen ties, with New Delhi agreeing to work closely and extensively with Colombo. The new government in Sri Lanka is said to be pursuing an India-first policy.
Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Mangala Samaravira met Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi on Monday. The top aide of new President Maithripala Sirisena is in India, carrying an invite for Modi to visit the island nation. Samaravira arrived in the Indian capital on Saturday for his first overseas trip days after the new government assumed power in Sri Lanka. He met his Indian counterpart Sushma Swaraj on Sunday to discuss issues including enhancing bilateral cooperation and political reconciliation efforts in Sri Lanka. Samaravira has reportedly invited Swaraj to visit his country, during which the India-Sri Lanka Joint Commission will be held. The two neighbours have also agreed to re-engage on the issue of repatriation of Tamil refugees currently in India. A meeting on the same will be held later this month.
India and Sri Lanka have decided to re-engage on the issue of repatriation of refugees currently in India. The talks between officials on this matter will begin before the end of this month.
Samaravira indicated that his choice of New Delhi as his first destination reflects the priority the new Sri Lankan government gives to relations with India. Prime Minister Modi was the first foreign head of government to congratulate President Sirisena over his electoral victory. Samaravira's tour is the first foreign trip by a member of the new cabinet and comes ahead of Sirisena's expected visit to India early next month.
United Nations has termed the human rights situation among ethnic minorities in Myanmar critical. UN envoy on the human rights situation in Myanmar, Yang Hee-lee, said despite addressing the serious humanitarian issues in Rakhine State, much more needed to be done. This came as hundreds of protesters led by Buddhist monks rallied in capital Yangon to denounce Lee's visit to the country, which has urged the government to grant citizenship to persecuted Rohingya Muslims. The UN envoy had in July last year visited Rakhine, one of Myanmar's worst hit regions by ethnic tensions. Myanmar has been facing communal tensions for a long time now. More than 40 people were killed in clashes between the Rohingya Muslims and the Buddhists in 2014 alone. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on Monday chaired an emergency meeting to tackle the petroleum crisis in the country. Pakistan has been facing an acute shortage of hydrocarbon fuel, virtually paralyzing the country.
Most petrol and gas pumps across Pakistan continue to remain shut for the 7th day on Monday owing to burgeoning fuel shortage. In many places, scuffles broke out between the customers as they tried to buy petrol in the midst of long queues of stranded vehicles. Commuters also complained that taxi services have increased the rates by more than double in the wake of the shortage. The crippling crisis has also hit the emergency services hard. Edhi Foundation, which runs the country's largest non-profitable ambulance service, has suspended operations since Saturday due to unavailability of fuel. Pakistan Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar and Railways Minister Khwaja Saad Rafiq had on Sunday held the government responsible for the current crisis in the country.
Bangladesh police on Monday withdrew the troops' deployment outside the Bangladesh Nationalist Party Supremo Begum Khalida Zia's office. The former Prime Minister had been confined to her office for nearly 2 weeks now after she announced an anti-government protest at the occasion of the first anniversary of the general elections. Meanwhile, the BNP's nationwide blockade completed its 13th day on Monday. At least 27 people were killed and scores have been injured in clashes and violence ever since the shutdown began earlier this month. Pledging solidarity to the victims of the Peshawar terror attack last month, hundreds organized candlelight vigils across Pakistan to express grief over the carnage.
Braving the freezing cold, hundreds held prayers across Pakistan to mark 1 month of the Peshawar Army School massacre. People from all walks of life held candlelight vigils to mourn the innocent victims and show solidarity with their families. Holding placards, several parliamentarians in capital Islamabad held protest rallies to fight terrorism in Pakistan.
We all feel that terrorism is a menace and Pakistan needs to work towards elimination of terrorism.
As the country continues to mourn the unforgettable loss, Pakistan's cricket team also arrived in Peshawar to meet the survivors of the attack. The players have donated $75,000 to the army school in a bid to pledge solidarity to the victims. Pakistan witnessed its biggest Taliban attacks on December 16th when 6 heavily armed men stormed into the army school, opening fire at the students and staff members, killing 142 people.
Cold wave conditions might be leaving India shivering, but for some in the northern states, the winter chill has brought its own share of excitement. Take a look.
The ever-intensifying cold wave has engulfed northern India under a blanket of thick fog. But for states like Himachal Pradesh, it has brought some cheer too. The Himalayan region, which experienced a fresh spell of snow recently, has turned the province into a white sheet. Tourist hotspot Dharamshala is seeing a surge in a number of visitors taking off from all across India to witness snow. Despite the minimum temperature hovering at 1 degree Celsius, it couldn't deter the spirit of tourists.
रात को ही यहाँ पहुँचा था और जैसे ही सुबह उठा तो देखा बाहर बहुत ही बर्फबारी हो रही है और मेरा तो यहाँ आने का मकसद ही सफल हो गया। बहुत एंजॉय कर रहा हूँ, बहुत मजा आ रहा है।
A fresh bout of snowfall also left many enthralled in provincial capital Shimla. The rise in tourist footfall has not only brought glee to the tourism industry but also to the local photographers. And with visitors preferring to capture the picturesque locales wearing traditional attires, these lensmen are in for a profitable season.
बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट है और इसके लिए हमारे को बहुत ही बेनिफिट हुआ है। इस बारी एडवांस बर्फ गिरी है, इसका बर्फ गिरने से बहुत अच्छा काम चला इस बारी हमारा।
Neighbouring state of Jammu and Kashmir also experienced moderate snowfall as temperatures dropped below 0 degrees. The woolen market is doing brisk business as people continue to throng shops to buy winter wear. Traders were all smiles as the snowfall ended the dry spell in their business.
मतलब इस टाइम जनवरी तक मतलब काम अच्छा होता है, वजह होता है मतलब ठंड की वजह से वो काम होता है।
Met officials have said temperatures will continue to dip due to strong velocity icy winds lashing throughout northern India, giving a reason to people to plan trips in the lap of Himalayas.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. US warns Pakistan against terror attacks during President Obama's India visit. Bangladesh police arrest country coordinator of Islamic State in Dhaka. And Sri Lanka promises to improve ties with India under its new government. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.